Okay, launching into it, we are back here with the women's podium show of the Broken Arrow 46K Team USA on the couch, separated by, I think it was 76 seconds between the three of you. We are joined by three amazing athletes here. I'm going to introduce each and then give your official finishing time. Our champion and new course record holder today from Missoula, Montana, Jen Lichter, running 4 hours, 42 minutes, 32 seconds. Jen, how you doing?
I'm better now.
Yeah, I heard you were feeling a little banged up. It sounds like you've been in the hot tub.
Yep. I could not walk downstairs for a little bit there. I think I was just cramping, to be honest. I think it was just like the after effects of like, oh, we ran hard today. Yeah. And my body was just like, oh, now we can freak out. Yeah. So
yeah. Well, you earned it, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome victory. In second place, the local here, two-time champion, Helen Mino Faukner.
Everyone keeps saying that, and I don't know where this rumor started. I think maybe MK said it, and it's because in 2021, I really felt like I won, even though I got second by like 30 minutes to Allie Mac.
Okay. All right,
but it was a big deal.
Okay.
So, one-time champion.
So, I'm not an informed journalist here. I'm spreading misinformation, but a one-time champion and two-time second place finisher now.
Yes.
Running 4 hours, 43 minutes, and 8 seconds, HMF. How are you feeling after your awesome run today?
I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
Better than when I was running.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm stoked. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. And so back now in third place from Mammoth Lakes, California, Dani Moreno running 4 hours, 43 minutes, 48 seconds. Dani, I know you're over the moon. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I might be the happiest third placer this weekend. I am still kind of astonished that just happened, to be honest. Maybe we'll get into it, but yeah, I thought I would not be in the same breath as these two this weekend. Yeah. So to be that close at the end is mind-boggling, to say the least. Yeah.
So maybe just share with the audience, for those who don't know what I'm referencing with you being so back, because I know you've really been focused on this race in particular now for a long time as you've been building back from injury.
Yeah, this race is kind of like where it plays into the overall arc, character development, I don't know, of my story. Is like, it was one that I pinned on the calendar last winter as kind of like, okay, that will be when I come back, you know? But basically I fractured my cuboid, partially ripped off part of the sheath of my cuboid, and partially tore my prettiest longest end of last August. And it's been a long journey. One filled with PRP, another ankle roll just in April where I was taking more time off. And so as time went on, like, this race became less and less of a big deal in my head, basically, because I was like, I won't be able to compete. Like, I'm just going to focus on coming back and being healthy. And yeah, just big shout out to the whole team that I work with of coaches, and especially my coach, Tom Evans, just like really, really just being so smart with my comeback. Like, I was running 10 to 30 mile weeks, like most of the beginning of this year, being like, let me do more. And he's like, not worth it. And we just recently in these last 6 weeks, like, bumped up to like 40 to 50 miles. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to finish this race. So yeah, just like huge shout out to him. Like, I think for him, the thing that rings in my head is he's like, let's just show up happy and healthy and finish the race happy and healthy. And whatever the result is, like, it'll be a win. Yeah. So yeah, again, just like being next to these two on this podium, like, I would say the odds were like 1 to 100. Yeah. But yeah, I just leaned into my strengths, race IQ, and just trying to close the fitness delta with like fueling and pacing. Yeah. And yeah, sorry, I'll just go on and on.
Yeah. When was the last time you raced?
I raced at GoPro Games a couple weeks ago. Okay. I trained through that. And then 3 weeks before that, I had my first race back. Mm-hmm. And that was like that was my longest run, actually. Yeah. And that was in Bishop. And yeah, again, I'm just like I'm like, how the hell did I just do that?
Okay. So before we start talking more about the race, what I do with the men and what I'd love to do here too is we've already done it with Dani, but would love to just sort of spend a minute or two on both Jen and Helen's season so far. Jen, you started your season with a win at the Trans Gran Canaria Marathon for the second time, then a DNF at Canyons. Maybe you could share a little bit about the highs and lows and how you were coming into this race from a sort of confidence and fitness perspective?
I was definitely nervous. I think sometimes like when you have like a day that went, goes really bad or I think that's all you think about. And so like I remember like on my drive, so we drove from Missoula because I wanted to bring my dog Uno because I'm obsessed. But I just remember like thinking like the entire time, I just don't want it to go bad again. I just don't want it to go bad again because like that's the last feeling I left with. It's one thing to like maybe do this race after like I win a TGC, and so I was just honestly it was just nervousness for. I knew my fitness was good. Like I was confident in that regard. I think it was just my mentality of like it just sucks to do it to have a bad day again. And so I think what helped is just like I left my phone basically for 5 days and just camped and had no reception. And it was just like, my partner Nick was like, let's just focus on you, not focus on what other people are doing. And just like, you're fit, look at the work you've done. And he's like, just do your thing. And so I think that really did help because, like whenever I would think about the race, my heart rate would shoot up, like just nervous. And so I really think like just like going off grid and just, spending time with like people I love and then just like thinking in my head, like you've done the work. It doesn't always have to be a bad race. And so, I think like this morning I was definitely nervous, but, I think doing some strides helped, just getting some of that anxious energy out. And then at the start line, he was just kind of like left, and I was just like, okay, I know what to do. Like I know how to race. And I've done this course before. I did it back in 2022. And so I was just like, this is like the type of, and the confidence came from like, this is my favorite type of course, like I love really mountainous stuff. So I think it was just like getting to the start line and just like not freaking out.
Yeah. I was actually interested to ask you this, and this is really the first time you and I have ever met. Yeah. So from my perspective, having followed you for a while, you strike me as a mountain athlete, right? Seeing what you've done at the World Championships, at the Rut, what you've done here, but then you had a DNF at Canyons, which is obviously like a faster, more runnable race. Is that sort of part of it of like, this is your strength as an athlete, this type of mountain racing course, or like, do you feel less comfortable at races like Canyons? Yes and no. I would say from like a confidence point, like any mountain race I feel more comfortable with, but I feel like with my training and I always do a lot of speed. And so like, cause I know like especially with how 50Ks are going, from like 4 or 5 years ago, like you need that raw speed. And so I try to have everything in my training, runnable, really steep, and so I try to be versatile in my training just because I feel like I want to not put myself in like a spot where like I show up to a race and I'm not confident. At Canyons last year, I finished behind this one. I was like pretty confident, cause I was just like, I've been doing a lot of speed, like, and it went really well. And then I did a 10K in Salt Lake and PR'd by a lot. So, I feel like yes, in a way, because I feel like there's less error in really runnable courses, kind of like you're exposed more in a way, versus with really mountain stuff, like you can have like a bad or a rough time and just like power hike it out, and like kind of get yourself, you have like time to kind of get yourself out of it instead of like, oh, if I'm not hitting 6:30 pace right now and like for the rest of this race, like I'm getting gapped right away. Versus like, oh, if I have to power hike and she's running, like it's still like I can still see her. Yeah. So I feel like in a way I try to be prepared for like all the race, because I feel like it's fun to like be like, oh, this race sounds cool. It's really like TGC is pretty runnable. Yeah, right. I wouldn't say it's like a really mountainous race. Yeah. But I think it's such a cool race, and I was like, I want to be able to put myself in a spot where like I can do races that appeal to me, whether they're runnable or not. And still hopefully do really well at them. But to go back to your question, I'm babbling now. I love mountainous races. Those are like my jam. Awesome. Yeah. Helen, your season so far, you were 4th at Tarawera 100K. You decided not to take a golden ticket to Western States. I remember I think we did an interview there, or we at least chatted, and you said you were mostly just going to kind of race around home through the sort of spring and summer. You did the Silver State half marathon down in Reno. Maybe you could just say a few words about your season to this point. You've already mentioned, I mean, we've already talked about not taking the ticket to Western States, but you could touch on that and sort of why you came back to Broken Arrow.
Yeah, I mean, I also ran Cerro Gordo Silver Mine Run, which is a 7.7 mile uphill race to an abandoned silver mine, which was super fun. And then I raced a mile on the track, and that was absolutely awful. And then, yeah, I ran Silver State half marathon, I think like 2 weeks ago. Pretty much like I'm not very good at doing speed work or workouts. And so Rick said,
the self-proclaimed slowest professional runner, I think you said.
I think I am.
Yeah, right.
I really do think I am. But he said, you can either do a workout or you can run this race. And I said, yeah, I'll pay $90 to not do a workout. Sounds great. So yeah, that's kind of been my racing so far. And I wanted to come back to Broken Arrow, just like I thought I could run faster, and it wasn't a snow year. And I love sleeping in my own bed the night before a race. Yeah, there's nothing that compares.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the race itself. Maybe, Jen, we can come back to you. It seemed to me, I mean, we saw each other at high camp the first time, I think 10 and a half miles into the race. You were already in the lead, but it wasn't a far gap back to Helen Mino Faukner and Grayson Murphy at the time, maybe a minute at that point. Yeah, well, so I wondered, because it seemed to me, just having looked at the tracker, that you had a gap early, and whether or not that was strategic. Just kind of bring us into the early miles of the race, what you were thinking about.
Honestly, I just like went off feel. I don't really look at my watch at all. And I know some people like run based off heart rate and stuff, like that's like pretty new, but no, I feel like it was unintentional to make a gap right from the start. I think it was just like, I feel good right now, so I might as well like use that. You know, it wasn't like I went out and I'm like, I'm going hard right now, which is how I felt at Canyons last year. I was like, I just went out hard and I was like, oh, I'm working, you know, but I feel like today was like, I just went out and I was just like, oh, this feels good, you know? And I was like, I'm not working super hard. And I feel like I'm just like cruising. And so that's just kind of like how honestly the entire race went by. It was just like use your fitness. Like, and I feel like I really didn't start to hammer until that, like the last downhill. But yeah, it was just like, I didn't know that they were that close. But in the second lap, you know, we were yo-yoing a little bit. And she did pass me at one point. I don't know who that section is.
Oh, it was like before we got up to the top.
Yeah, right. It's just like maybe a mile and a half from like the ladder. It's like a mile and a half from the ladder. And I was cramping pretty bad at that point. And I think it was cramping just from effort. I don't think it was from electrolytes or anything. And I'm just trying to manage that. And then I was like, oh, I feel good running again. Yeah. And so, and then we went back to yo-yoing.
Like Jen's running away from me and my calves are cramping. Yeah, and I'm like, dang it.
Yeah, it was just the yo-yoing after that again. And then, yeah, I feel like once we hit that final like little boop right before like 4 miles to go, I was just like, you don't have to worry about your legs anymore. Yeah. You don't have another lap. And so that's when I was just like, okay, just go for it.
So cool. Yeah. Helen, would love to hear it from your perspective too, because it seems like you made up a little bit of a gap on Jen on the first climb of the second lap. Mm-hmm. So tell us a little bit about that, you know, the knowledge that you were sort of making time up on the lead, and probably also at that point, knowing that Grayson Murphy was no longer, you know, with you, because I don't know how much time you guys spent together, but when I saw you, you were together. She
passed me at like the bottom of Shirley, and then I passed her back, and then I had no clue what happened. But yeah, Rick and I talked about it, and like if you look back at like all of the winners of this race, like this race is pretty much won in miles like 18 to 22. And so like, you know that this is going to be hard. It's supposed to be. And so like, I think during like those miles, like my goal was like make it as hard as you can. And then my legs started cramping, but I was still like trying to pass Jen and just like make it as hard as you can. Like this is the part that matters.
Cheryl, how much?
18 to 22. It's like the bottom of Snow King all the way to the top.
This is what the men said exactly. Also, they were all together there, and that's where the separation happened, where Eli was finally able to get a little bit away.
It's like whoever runs pretty much the closest split to their first lap usually ends up in the podium.
Could you share a little bit more? I'd love to hear it from both your perspectives, and I'm sure the audience would. I mean, obviously, if Helen catches up to you and you're in the lead, Jen, what's the dynamic between the two of you? Obviously, you're very respectful of each other as athletes, but that's kind of a dramatic moment in the race that people didn't get an opportunity to watch. So maybe you could just share a little bit about that moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, there's Jen, I gotta go. And then I was like, okay, she's walking. Maybe I can walk faster. And then she would start running and pass me. And I'm like, I can't run. And I'm like, okay, we're still walking. Yeah. And then it was just like back and forth. And then, like by the time before we got to the ladder, she had put like a gap on me again.
Oh.
I think for me, it was like, when Helen passed me, it was just like, try not to freak out, because I feel like sometimes you're like, oh, that's the race,
It's deflating.
You can be like, oh, she feels better. Like, that's it. And I think for me, it was like, you know what? Like, we still have so much racing to do at this point. And I was just like, keep an eye on her. Like, like you physically feel fine. Mm-hmm. Like my breathing was fine. I wasn't like breathing like 185 or anything. And just like manage what you can, like try to keep as close to an eye on her. I feel like it was pretty like, honestly, I think we were both so into our racing that like no words were said,
of course,
as we like yo-yoed.
I think maybe the first time like you said good job and I said good job, but it was like very, very like quiet.
It was just really quiet. Cause it's like respect, right? Like,
of course.
It's like, we're pushing each other, like, and I knew, like, the crazy thing is after the first lap, I didn't look at my watch, and then I think at one point I was like, climbing, and I looked, and I was like, oh my god, it says 2:19, and last time I went through the village in 2:20, and I was just like,
wow,
what? Like, why did I just run through the village? I had no idea at that point, and I was just like, don't think about it. And so that was my one mistake, but because I was just like, okay,
freaked yourself out like you were going too hard.
Yes, like maybe I was going too hard, but like that first lap felt so good that I was just like, okay, I guess this is like how it is gonna be.
Rad. I mean, it's so fun to hear about it.
If it wasn't like, honestly, like for Helen, like I wouldn't have run as hard.
Yeah.
Like I just think that like when races are that close, like you run harder and you just bring
big
out
course
the best
records
of
for all three of you.
You bring the best out of each other.
I love it. Thank you for saying that, Jen. All right, Dani, back to you. When we saw each other at mile 10 and a half, high camp the first time, you had a big smile on your face. You were in 5th place. And at that point, it was Jen, Helen, Grace, and then Erin Moyer. So I would love to hear about, the rest of the day from you, but especially like when you moved past Erin, when you moved past Grayson, and when you knew, all right, I'm in Team USA position. What was going through your head there?
Again, like before this week, I was like, if I manage a top 5, I will be over the moon. But I told myself to like try and not be surprised by anything. So like, even though like I think my fitness is not, well, maybe it is world class and I don't realize it, but like, I really was like, okay, I'm not firing on all cylinders. So, but if you move up, that's like more of a testament to like the years of training, But when we went over the top, it sounds like maybe I was a little bit more into splits. But I knew that Tony crested the top last year in 128. And so my process goal was like, okay, if my 2 climbs can be as close together as possible, that'll be a good day. And then I crested the top in like 125. And Tony McCann is one of the best climbers in the world, period. And I was like, holy cow, if I just went 125, I can't even see Jen and Helen everyone is running so fast right now. So then when we crested over, and I do have to give a shout out to Grayson. Like, we kept yo-yoing quite a bit actually. And I'd catch her on the uphills and I'd be like, hey, good job. And then she'd catch me on the downs. She'd like, hi. And then I'd catch her on the uphills. I'm like, hi again. And then the whole first loop was just us being like, oh, hey, good job. But when we crested the hill, her and Aaron just flew. And I was like, okay. And I've been pretty open with this on social media, but I have had a little bit of a mental block that I've been working through because that's how I injured my ankle, was sending it. Yeah. And so I kind of was like, okay, just let the heart rate drop a little bit and try and climb out of Shirley Canyon the fastest you've ever climbed. And then I saw you. I saw lots of people, but I was just so happy this whole day. I just was like, I am racing of like a world-class field. Yep. So yeah, I just was so happy, and I was like, okay, I know the other process goal was like, let's try and get the laps as close to each other as possible. And I think I ended up being like 2 minutes off of my first lap.
The men did the same thing. I think Eli had negative split.
Yeah. So in most years that would win, but I have these two up there. But we came through and I like felt so good. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just so grateful for today. There's just so many big smiles and it's hard for me not to smile back.
But tell me about the moment you got into third place.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I passed Aaron right before the crew stop, and shout out to my crew, Sean and Claire. Like, we had our stuff dialed. So I did a pack swap and a belt swap. And then I never saw her again. And then I didn't see Grayson until the first, basically you start it and it's quite runnable. And then it pops out and there's like the 3 steep ramps. Mm-hmm. And I saw her at the top of the first climb, and I just kept telling myself, I'm like, just focus on yourself. Like, let the course do the work for you was kind of my mantra for today. So like, work with the course. And if other people miscalculate, the course will kind of like feed them back to you. Yeah. And so I just looked at her, and then I just focused on myself, and like each climb, I just started catching her more and more. And then going into the ladder, I knew she was still behind me. And Grayson on the first descent took off. And honestly, that was the fire I needed. Knowing that Grayson was right behind me, I was like, as soon as I get to the top of the snow stairs, like grip it and rip it, like as fast as you possibly can. Yes. So I was running more scared than hungry. And then the splits to them started coming down, and I was like, holy cow, like yep. I am ripping it right now. And my brain just like went feral, yes. Like blank space back to where, because I take a lot of pride in my last downhill races. Like I tend to be quite strong. And yeah, knowing that I was cutting down time, and I'm like, holy cow, like I'm going to make Team USA, but like, will I catch second and first? I doubt it, because I was pretty sure they were running quite well. But just the fact that I think at the top they had over 4 minutes on me, and I just like leaned into it. So yeah, shout out to Grayson for scaring the shit out of me.
Shout out to
She's
Grayson.
The last person you want behind you.
2-time world champ.
I know.
On your tail.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Make anybody run a little bit faster.
Yeah.
All right. I want to hear from each of you about the moment at the finish line, because it was pretty cool and emotional for everybody who was there, having seen Jen come through, and then it felt like 2 seconds later Helen's there, and then we didn't really know who was going to be in third. People were kind of like, well, is it Grayson? Is it Dani? Maybe Jane? And then, you came around the corner. So maybe you could each just share a little bit about the finish line vibes and, sort of because you guys, there was an energy of like you three knowing, okay, that was an epic battle. We all just made Team USA. We all just pushed each other to a new level. Jen, you can get us started.
Honestly, I was just so happy to be done. Dani, you did such a great job at pacing that race. Like we went out so hard that we felt that second lap, like we felt it. And, I think like just going into the finish, I was just like, I think I was going like 5:30 pace, because I was just like, there's no way. I worked this hard. There's no way I'm letting them catch me. And I was just like, no. And I think I was just like really happy. Like, I think everyone wants to defend their crown, and I was just really happy to like defend the crown, especially after a bad canyons race. And, you know, that was, you know, like when you drop out, it's heartbreaking because you're like, I've put so much work into this race and all the hours you think of training and lifting and doing mobile, you know, all the little things. And so I was just like really happy to like reassure myself that, you know, like I'm still fit and I can still win things. And that, you know, like DNFs or having a bad day, like it's just part of the process. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that just because you have a bad day, you're going to have a bad day again. And so I think for me, it was just like, you know, finishing, it was just like, oh, thank God, you know, like, oh my God, like, thank God. You know, and so it was emotional in like the sense of like reassurance of like, I'm not, you know, the races that I win, they're not just like blips, you know, and,
I mean, what we mentioned with the men, and is true for the women too, this wasn't the USATF 50K championship, but it's definitely the unofficial American 50K championship. So I think it's a really incredible thing to hang your hat on. I appreciate being honest with that too. I mean, we all know there's highs and lows in athletic careers, and when you're down, you feel like it's over. Career's done.
And I think, you know, it's one thing to come to a race really confident, you know, and like, I feel like at TGC and like all the other races, you know, that was my second DNF in my career. Mm-hmm. And so like, it took me a while to get over OCC in 2023. Like that was really hard to get out of that. Like you just feel really sad. And so, you know, having done that at Canyons, you know, like, it's like you're trying to be excited and you're like, okay, but I put so much work, I'm fit, you know, and like just trying to be that positive on yourself. You're just like, you know, it's just like hard to get there. Yeah. And so, I think it's just like, like I said, thank God. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Helen.
Yeah. I mean, I was also stoked to be done. I was like, I didn't fall over from cramping. But I think it was just like so cool to see like, I mean, I could see Jen like running down the road. I was like, she's not that far ahead of me. And then like, I didn't know that Dani was like that close either. And so it was just like super cool, like that we were all so close. Cause I think
you were 36 seconds back and then Dani was 40 seconds behind you. So it was almost equidistant.
That's crazy. Like, that's so fun though. Cause I think it made all of us run faster. And I think like, I keep saying it because like, we went out kind of hard, but I think that we can run faster. I think the women's time could be faster. It's not me apparently, but like, I don't know. I was a little worried at the first part because I mean, the first lap didn't feel good for me. And so then the second lap felt about the same. And I was like, cool, it's just all bad, but it doesn't really matter. I was just stoked. And I feel like it made us all run better.
Dani? It was legit emotional for you.
I'm going to start crying.
And both Jen and Helen sort of helped you off the ground because you were...
Yeah, I was going into pray mode, like pray.
Honestly, Dani, I feel like sometimes like when that pressure, like you said, you had no pressure, you know, on yourself coming into this race. Like I had no pressure when I went to like Innsbruck in 2023 and I was coming off an injury. And I felt like, I remember being on the start line being like, well, I've done everything I could to get here and I'm just going to have fun with it. And that was the one race, like maybe this is yours, where I was just like, what did I do? You know, because you're like, I don't feel that like as fit as I feel like normally would feel in like the years prior or whatever. And sometimes like, I really do think it's like when you take that pressure off yourself, because believe it or not, like our fans, like they're cheering for us and like, we're like, oh, they put pressure on us. Like, no, that's us. You know, like they're just cheering. They don't care if we win or lose. Like they're stoked. And I feel like sometimes and I feel like that's what happened today. It's like, you're just like, I'm just going to do my thing and I have no pressure on myself. And I think that really led to like such a great performance. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't cry. Sorry.
No, I'm still going to cry. I'm emotive. It's been a long journey and I'm sure anyone, oh shoot guys, I'm sorry. I'm trying.
Yes.
Anyone that's dealt with injury, you just worry if you'll ever be good again. Yeah. So today it
feels daunting.
You're still good.
Very good.
You're still so good.
It definitely feels, like an end to a chapter, which is cool. Like I could finally move on and just really thankful for my whole team. Tom for sure. My sister strength coaches me now, which is really cool. Kyla, nutritionist, my masseuse, sports massage therapist, and Cairo. And yeah, just all my sponsors who were like, messaging me and calling me like less than 2 days after OCC, being like, we're with you for the long run.
Hell yeah.
And that just goes a long way. And I hope they're seeing that it's paying off. And yeah, I just feel a lot of gratitude. And yeah, just to see my name below your guys's, I'm just like, fuck, they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
too.
We're all very good at running.
Believe it or not,
pretty good.
believe it or not, Dani, like I was still like, oh, Dani, like, like you beat me last year, and I was like, I'm gonna have to, like, I don't care how you felt. I was like, I'm gonna watch out for Dani too. It's
I'm a pest at all.
Okay, so
no, I think you're a good runner.
let's wind down by talking about what's ahead, because as we've established, you guys are good at running. So much so that we've got Team USA on the couch here, and this is a freaking stacked squad going over to Confranc in September. I would love to just hear a word from each of you about what it means to be on Team USA. Jen, you finished 4th at the Short Trail World Championships in Innsbruck, as you just mentioned. A sick performance, but I'm sure you would have loved to have been one spot higher.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about that race is I didn't know at that point, I was like, that was actually my first international race. Yeah. And so I remember being lined up on the start line and being like, I don't know who anyone is. Yeah. This is great. And I actually led the race at start, and then Judith passed me, and then Clementine passed me. And then I was running third for a while, till halfway. And then I died a little bit. But I was terrible at nutrition at that point, and I've tried to do a lot better since, with fueling. And then, Teresa LaBeouf passed me. And then actually went back all the way to 7th, because I was I was dealing in my own bonk.
Yeah.
And I just realized I just needed to eat. And I think that's literally what happened. It's I haven't eaten in 2 hours. I should probably eat something. And then I got a second wind. Yeah. And then it's just so it's crazy, because I was in 3rd for a while. Yeah. And so, yes, I'm hungry for more. But I feel like I said with Dani, it was I had no, expectation. For me, it was just I like racing this type of courses, and I'm just going to try it around hard and see what I can do. So
are you going to double?
It seems like the course will suit
I'm not going to double.
It does seem like the course suits your strengths. So.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So you're on the long trail.
Yeah.
A small detail.
Yeah.
Yeah. I should probably clear.
All right. So what are you going to do?
So I actually want to stay on the long trail.
Cool.
Just because, I've all my running career, I started in 2022, it's been 50Ks. It's been 50Ks and marathons. Yeah. And I feel like I'm at a point where I'm curious about going further. Yeah. And so if you've noticed in the past 2 years, I finished my season with something longer. JFK and Templiers. Yeah. And I feel like I've learned so much those 2 races, that, to end my season on a new challenge like that, really, for me, I think will make my training exciting. Because I feel like my 50K training, I've been doing it for so long now that it's what can I do to keep that fire going? Mm-hmm. And I feel like the curiosity of I want to go longer now. Because I feel like I like to say I'm a grinder of a runner. When things get hard, I can acknowledge that it's being hard, but I can push through. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's kind of where I've been focusing on, as dipping my toe in the longer stuff. And
fun.
So the long trail to me is okay, Templiers was 8 hours, and I'm sure this is going to be more 11. Yeah. With how the course is, and I'm okay, that's exciting.
It suits a grinder.
That's
Helen,
exciting.
What are you thinking about for the World Championships?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I talked to Jacob. He said, "Yeah, I'm not sure."
Yeah, I don't know. I'm the first alternate for the long trail team, and so ideally I would rather run the longer one too. But that doesn't seem to be in the cards. So I don't know. I have to think about it. It kind of disrupts everything I was gonna do. Okay. So we'll see.
Well, maybe what you could talk about instead is, this optionality. It's some would view it as a blessing, even though it might lead to tough decision making. But I mean, you're at the point in your career. I mean, you've been on the podium at CCC, the biggest stage in the world. Like, you have the range, as we just established. You ran a mile race on the track not long ago.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, like, I think it's interesting where you have a chance to represent Team USA in the short trail automatically, but you still have personal goals that might supersede, that great distinction and career achievement.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's like something that like plays a really big role in me making this decision is like, that's so cool to be able to like represent America like at a world championship. And so I think I just have to think about it a little bit more and like see how it all plays out. But yeah, I think also I need to remember I can't just keep saying no to stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Dani, you're definitely going.
I don't know. I need to talk.
Come on.
I know.
I need to talk to Tom, my coach, because I honestly thought I wasn't gonna get a spot today.
Yeah.
I really thought top 5 would be. I mean, as we saw in the field today, it was incredible. Like the whole women's field. So I was ready to kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I am signed up for CCC. I've been doing short distances for almost 8 years now on the trail side. So this is a long-awaited debut that I'm really excited for. I'm running alongside friends Ingvild Kaspersen and Tony McCann, which is actually I was just thinking, you guys are both previous Broken Arrow champions. They're both previous CCC champions, so it'll be like a similar dynamic. So yeah, we'll see. I honestly, the fact that my foot feels incredible today, even with like the snow and water, I was really nervous about that. Tells me it is healed. We'll knock on wood.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to think about it.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Kind of crazy though. I mean,
kind of anticlimactic. I'm like sitting on. I'm like, oh my god, this is definitely the best Team USA women's.
Sorry, guys.
I was like, any of us could be on the podium, if not all three of us.
Sorry, guys.
All right. Well, time will tell.
Yeah. Need to think about it.
Okay. So, Dani, I think you might come back in when we do our sort of recap show later this afternoon. I have more I want to talk to about you, specifically about like the state of American 50K and sub ultra, because like Eli and David Sinclair and Ryan Becker
how much
today.
did we beat the women's record by?
10 minutes.
So same with Eli.
Yeah. Same with Eli.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Checks out.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that on the next show, but suffice it to say, freaking amazing race. 76 seconds separating the top 3
in a
women
mountain
here.
race.
In a mountain
Sorry, I'm
race.
getting too excited.
No, but that is crazy.
Because Canyons was
unbelievable.
popping last year, and we had a bigger spread. Yeah.
It was so cool at the finish line. It was amazing to watch.
That's what I'm saying. It's like it's exposing more. I feel like I just think it's crazy.
All right. Well,
Sorry, we'll get it.
Congratulations to each of you. I hope you all feel incredibly proud, and I'm grateful that you would take the time to come in studio and talk about it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.